Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2072. The topic is nutrition, and the title is Weight is Just a Number. I got a message from a forward client this past week. I thought it would be fun to share, and it related to today's podcast topic. They wrote, Rob, I know you'll say you don't, but don't hate me. Since we last worked together, I fell into my old habit of eating less in hopes of getting leaner. When we stopped, I was the leanest and most muscularly defined I had ever been, but I was unhappy being as heavy as I was. I kept doing your workouts, but I skipped the heavier movements that I felt were making me too heavy, and I started eating less in hopes to bring my weight down. Unfortunately, it worked. I say unfortunately because I am down 20 pounds, but I look and feel like crap. My body is more sore from my runs. I'm not as strong as I used to be, even in the lighter, smaller movements, and I look worse. Somehow I am 20 pounds lighter, but I look 20 pounds fatter. I have no energy, no definition, and I clearly have no idea what I'm doing. I used to tell my body, you used to tell me that body weight didn't matter if I was healthy and liked the way I looked and felt, but I was stubborn and didn't listen. I was wondering if you'd be willing to work with me again to get me back to where I was, and if so, I promise to listen this time. I truly did look and feel my best, and am so mad at myself for getting stuck on a number and allowing it to mess up everything you had helped me create. If you don't hate me, haha, and if you have the space, can we work together again? Of course I don't hate him. We had to stop working together. They ran into some financial troubles. So I had said, hey, you have all the workouts we've been doing, just cycle back through them. You have your nutrition targets and numbers, just keep that going. You're looking great, feeling great. You kind of have what you need. And basically, at that point, the weekly accountability, the check-ins, the availability to ask questions and get answers, the service that they were paying for, what it was beneficial at that point was we had already created the type of programming that would work best for them, and then it was just going to be to continue to create variety of training. We had already found nutrition that was working great, had a good balance to it, to the training, balance to their lifestyle. So we had kind of established that. So they were basically just going to kind of keep that going. And if their goals had changed, I would maybe help them change that. So the service, the benefit would have been the weekly check-ins and the ability to ask questions and then continuing to get workout variety. But since they ran into some financial troubles, we both understood you got the majority of what you need. Why don't you just take it, keep it going, and, we'll touch base when we can. Unfortunately, they did not keep it going. So that's a bummer. Now, whenever they were at their peak, whenever we stopped working together, they were training 4 days a week. They were in and out in 60 minutes because they had to train in the middle of the workday. They had about an hour and a half-ish in the middle of the day, and their gym is in their office. So they were able to kind of quit work, drink a little bit of something, wrap up something, get into the gym, and take about 60 minutes in the gym, get out of that, eat a little bit of something, get back into work. Now, they have a desk job, some phone calls, a little bit of busyness, but they can sit still, so they can eat a little bit, leading into the training, eat a little bit coming out of the training. So it worked well where they had 60 minutes. It was a hard stop at 60. They were doing that 4 times a week. Nutrition was 2,600 calories to 3,000 calories every day, and that was training or non-training. Protein was 160 to 200 grams of protein a day. Sugars we kept to under 60 grams a day, and distribution we used thirds, which means you're going to divide the awake part of your day. Typically, we sleep 6 to 8 hours, which means you're awake for 16 to 18 hours. So the amount of time that you're awake divided by 3. So that means the first roughly 6 hours, say 5 or 6 hours that you're awake, you're going to eat 1/3 of your calories in protein. The second 5 to 6 hours of being awake, you're going to eat 1/3 of your calories in protein. The final 5 or 6 or so, whatever hours of being awake, the final 1/3 of your calories in protein. So that's what they were doing. They free reign over carbs versus fats, whatever sources they wanted, as long as they weren't eating something so fast digesting that all of a sudden they were starved for the next meal when it wasn't time for the next meal. They really pretty open nutrition. They were looking great, feeling great, 6-pack abs. I mean, like whatever they had everything they wanted. And this was at a body weight of 190 pounds. They looked and felt great. However, they were telling me at the time, they're like, I feel like I'm too heavy. And I said, well, what do you, in what, like how so? How do you feel that you're too heavy? I was like, is your blood work? Your blood work's fine. We've been getting blood tests done every 6 months. And the blood pressure's fine, heart rate was fine, all the blood values were fine, nothing wrong on paper. I was saying, well, do you feel too heavy in your run? Like when you run, do you feel too heavy in your joints? Do you have any pain? They're like, no. And actually their running was the best they'd ever been. The lifting was the best they'd ever been. They were actually feeling the best they'd ever felt. So I was like, at the time, I remember talking with them, I'm like, if you feel you're too heavy, I do want to help. Like we can be lighter, but I would hesitate to go lighter if you can't clearly define why it is that you feel like you're too heavy. I said, maybe it's just in your mind you always had a certain number, and the fact that it's just not that number is what's messing you up. So let's not change just for some arbitrary random number that we think we'd be happy at. You are happy. Can we maybe just shift our mindset to realize that, hey, 190 is actually okay? But in their mind, they thought they should only weigh about 160 to 170 pounds. So even though at 190, their running abilities were better, their gym abilities were better, their aesthetics were better, their blood health was good, every marker of health and performance were on point. But they believed they were supposed to be lighter. And I often see this with clients who want to lose weight, and in the process of setting that up, they choose a specific body weight as their target. What they actually want is they want to be leaner, which would be better measured via body fat percentage. But that's not a common method of measurement, so instead they pick a weight. I would be happy if I weighed blank. So, I'm in the 160s, but if I could get to 130s, that would be great. But what we find out is when they're eating healthy, exercising regularly, or they're happy in their appearance, maybe they end up weighing between 140 to 145 pounds. And they thought they were supposed to weigh 130. As a trainer, my thought is, perfect. You look great, feel great, health is great, done, But the client sees 140 on the scale, not 130. And in their mind, that represents failure. That represents a job still incomplete. This disconnect between how they look and feel, the balance of good health, in relation to their body weight, can really mess people up from time to time. They would think, I used to weigh, XYZ in high school. I weighed XYZ when I got married. I saw this person on social media and they said they only weigh XYZ. I like the way they look, therefore I should weigh what they weigh. Or I talked to my doctor and they said for a healthy BMI, I should only weigh XYZ. Weight often becomes the focus over how a person looks and feels. And that's unfortunate because if our blood work is good, you feel good, you can look in the mirror and like what you see, well, damn, shouldn't that be the goal? I look good, I feel good, I'm healthy. And whatever that weight is what it is, right? For myself, for example, I currently weigh around 290 pounds. I fluctuate a little bit here and there, but I weigh around 290 pounds. And within the last year, I applied for life insurance. Since I'm an entrepreneur, I had to kind of shop around and shift some things to get some life insurance, and I was denied. I was denied life insurance because I'm morbidly obese. I literally wasn't even able to pay extra. I call it paying a fat tax. back whenever I had to be on government health care, and I'll skip all the stories. But I had to pay an extra $20 a month because my BMI was too high. So I called it the fat tax, which of course the representative never could agree with me because that was an inappropriate term apparently. But I had to pay extra because I was fat or deemed to be fat. So I called it the fat tax. So I actually would write in the notes, and I would be very petty and be frustrated. So I would often send two separate payments, and one would be for the base amount, and the other one I would label as the fat tax. And it probably drove those people absolutely nuts. But am I morbidly obese? I do have a few pounds that probably wouldn't hurt to lose. I wouldn't mind being a little bit leaner, but I'm under 20% body fat. I'm under 20% body fat. My blood work is all great. Good blood pressure, good resting heart rate. All my blood values are fine. I look good. I could be leaner. I'd like to be a little bit leaner, but I also don't want to lose muscle, so I'm in my own little world about that. But I feel good. I'm strong. My joints are great. I have no movement issues. Just played soccer 2 weeks ago and didn't die, even at 290 pounds. So I'm okay. In the general definition, I am healthy and happy. But the BMI chart says I should weigh 181 pounds. Good God. If I were to lose 100 pounds of body weight to get into a healthy BMI range, would I be more healthy? I could see an argument for that for longevity. Just less body mass does equate to less work for the body. But my blood range, my blood marker health and all that stuff at this weight, 290, is all good. So I don't want to take 100 pounds off my body just to save a little bit of longevity, considering the mental and emotional impact that would have. Because if I were to take 100 pounds off my body, would I be happy? The answer is hell freaking no. I started my lifting journey at over 20% body fat at only 165 pounds. So at 125 pounds less, I was fatter. So if I were to take 100 pounds off now, I'd be undoing 20 years of work. Could I do it if I wanted to? I am one stubborn human being, and I bet I could if I wanted to. But do I want to? No. Absolutely not. I do not want to do that. I want to be healthy. I want to look good. I want to be happy the way I look and I feel. But for me, all of that is happening at 290 pounds. The former client who reached out, the original message that I shared, it was happening for them at 190 pounds. For you, where do you think it would happen? Or a better question, does the weight that you believe it would happen matter? If your blood work is healthy, if you feel good, if you are happy with the way you look, does your weight matter? I would urge people to be careful using body weight as a goal, when likely what you're really referencing is body fat percentage. You want to be leaner, not necessarily lighter. It's likely that lighter will happen, but your goal is to be leaner. Now, there are weight scales you can buy for your home that measure body fat. They do bioelectrical impedance devices. It has this little electrical pulse charge thing. You stand on these little silver things, whether you have a foot scale. Some of them, the more accurate ones, will have a hand device, but like a foot and hand device. You can look at like in-body weight scales. Even more gyms now are having like in-body scans in the actual gym. One of my clients, she has her and her husband own a gym up in Ohio, and they have an in-body scan in their gym. That's great. That's awesome. They can use that for themselves, which we use to track their numbers. They can also use it for their clients. And then in a lot of major cities, at least in America, you can get access to DEXA scans, which is pretty much considered a gold standard of body fat percentage testing. You lay on a table and this mechanical arm kind of hovers over you and measures your body fat percentage. And I have clients do that all the time. I just had a client send me Monday, just sent me Monday. So you can track body fat percentage. Most people are just simply used to using a weight scale. So that's what they use, is a weight scale. But you can buy like body fat measurement devices for at home. You can use them in gyms. You can go to some like locations in major cities and get that done every couple months. Every 4 to 6 months. I do that with clients for aesthetic competitions and off seasons and all that stuff all the time. It's a very regular thing in my world to have people do all that, because that's really what we want is we want leanness, not lightness. Weight is a data point. It's something you can reference to get an idea of what's happening within your body. But I would be careful of making weight your goal. If your goal is to be healthy and happy, then make that your goal. Measure body fat percentage progress over body weight change progress. And you'll likely have a more accurate reading as to the end results you're truly looking for. You won't end up where this client ended up, is where they were happy, but they had picked a number. They never met that number. They felt like it was a failure. They felt like it was incomplete. They did kind of some things that were bummer decisions in order to get to that number. And then they realized they weren't happy. They realized that that number wasn't what they had really been searching for. What they had been searching for was to be healthy and to look and feel good. And for them, that happened to be at 190, not 170. You might have a goal of 130 pounds, but you might find out 140 is great. You might have a goal of 180, but you might find out that maybe 190 or 200 is great. I have clients who they would be considered overweight for sure. Let's say 220 pounds. And they're like, man, I remember in high school, I graduated high school, 185 pounds. And now they're in their like late 30s, 40s. We take it from 220 down to 200. And I'm like, dude, you probably want to stop here. Like, you look freaking great. You look good. Like, you feel good. Everything's going well. If you try to get down to 185, you're probably just going to feel thin and skinny. It's been 20-some years since high school, bro. So it would be normal if you have a little more muscle mass. It would be normal to carry a little bit of more weight around. It's just too often people get fixated on a number, and that number causes problems for them emotionally and mentally. So I would want you to always be healthy, but then I also always want you to be happy. And I would encourage you to recognize that weight is just a number. And maybe what you want to switch to is testing your body fat percentage and tracking the progress you make with that, rather than the progress you make with body weight. So if you're fixated on weight and weight is causing you a lot of problems, switch to tracking body fat percentage. You can get an at-home device. You can find a local gym that has a in-body scan, or you can pay for a DEXA scan if you live in an area that has one. But I would encourage you to switch to body composition, like body fat percentage being your marker of progress, your kind of test of what's happening. And that can really help keep you in a healthier mental state. Awesome. Well, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, just shoot me an email. You can always message me on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. Go to the bottom of the homepage. There's a contact form. You can send me a message anytime. I'll always get back to you. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. And if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.